This video was made in partnership with Riverside. So a few weeks ago, I made a video comparing the DJI Pocket 4 to the Insta360 Luna Ultra. And quick summary, if you didn't see that video, basically I said that I thought the Luna was the winner in terms of hardware and also matched and in some cases surpassed the image quality of the Pocket 4, which I found quite surprising. Now the caveat with that video was that it was mainly focused on image quality, particularly shooting in log. And so what I wanted to continue testing was what it was actually like to use the Luna on a day-to-day basis. And since it's been about 2 months since I've been using this device, I want to talk about whether I think it's actually held its own or whether the novelty kind of wore off and would I actually use it as a replacement for the Pocket 4. Now, over the past few weeks, honestly, I've felt some quite confidence with the Luna compared to the Pocket, purely because of those image quality tests. As a quick recap, basically I found that the Luna performed better in low light. Overall, it had a lot less noise, which was very nice. And I also actually kind of preferred the skin tones and the color choices that the Luna makes compared to the Pocket 4 out of the box. But at the end of the day, what really matters is whether or not you're actually going to use the camera. Even if the image quality is excellent, if you don't use it on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't matter. And so this video is not going to be like a spec-based review. It's more of my thoughts on what it's actually like to use this practically day-to-day and whether I found any challenges and whether this is something that has become part of my workflow or if it's just something that I end up leaving in the drawer. And to give it away kind of upfront, the reality is, after about 2 months, the camera that I personally default to on a regular basis is the Insta360 Luna Ultra. And that's not even like it depends on the day. Sometimes I use the Pocket, sometimes I use the Ultra. It's like the Ultra is my default. And the only time I've ever pulled out the Pocket 4 since using the Ultra on a regular basis is if I really need like a third angle. And for me, there's 2 main reasons why the Ultra has become my default. And I'm going to go through them, but the first reason is that I have so much confidence in the image quality and the footage coming out of this device. And then second is quite specific, but it's the detachable screen. So let me talk a bit more about reason 1. Confidence in the footage. Like I said, I really love the image quality that comes out of this device, but I think the big thing for me is that it's actually reduced my workflow friction in post. And that's because with the Pocket 4, every now and then, especially in low light shots in indoor footage, which is the type of footage that I regularly shoot, like I don't shoot outdoors anywhere near as much as I do indoors, I found the Pocket 4 would often introduce grain. And it wasn't terrible grain, but what it did add was just a little bit of friction. So what I would end up having to do is in DaVinci Resolve, while I'm color grading my footage, I would have to apply some noise reduction. And noise reduction, if you don't know, is quite intensive on your computer and it definitely slows down render times. And so it just made my overall workflow that much slower. Whereas with the Luna, especially in low light, once again, the footage is really clean and I haven't found myself needing to apply any noise reduction. And that small thing for me really does make a big difference in my day-to-day because it just saves me that extra amount of time when I'm actually putting my videos together. And I'm also more confident that, especially when shooting in low light, that I'm going to get footage that's actually usable, even if it is on the grainy side because it is so low light. I still feel like I'm more likely to get usable footage from this than I am from the Pocket 4. That's why to me, I've used a lot of really great cameras, especially action cameras over the years, but they've never actually become a permanent part of my workflow because they just introduce too much friction. And one other tool that I've actually been using to really help reduce the friction in my workflow is Riverside, who are partnering with today's video. So I've been using Riverside for years now, and it's an all-in-one content creation platform where you can record, edit, and publish your content all in the one place. And because Riverside prioritizes image and audio quality, to me that matters a lot when you're investing in gear like this, because the last thing you want is a platform that compresses your video and audio and makes it look trash. Now you can record your content straight into Riverside in 4K with multi-track recording as well, so you can have multiple cameras going into Riverside, or you can upload pre-edited content. And then once I'm editing in Riverside, this is where it really saves me a lot of time in my workflow. So it will automatically transcribe your video, which you can then use to edit by deleting lines of text rather than scrubbing through and making manual cuts on the timeline. There's also some really useful AI tools that I use on a regular basis, including the remove filler words tool, which removes all my ums and ahs and blank spaces. And then the automatic captions based on the transcript are incredible, especially for short form content. And speaking of which, once I've finished editing my long form video, I can use the Magic Clips feature to automatically pull short form clips using AI. And then once I've edited those clips, I can actually schedule them straight to my YouTube channel from within the Riverside platform instead of having to download and re-upload a whole bunch of files. So if you're investing in a great camera like this, and you want a platform that actually does it justice, including recording, editing, and repurposing, then Riverside is definitely worth a look. There'll be a link in the description, and you can use the code NICK1 to get your first 30 days completely free. Okay, so now let's talk about reason number 2 why this has become my default, and that is, like I said, the detachable screen. Now this kind of might seem like a bit of a gimmick, but I've personally found in my everyday workflow, it has become invaluable. With the DJI, you can shoot remotely, but you have to connect it to a phone app, and that takes 30 seconds, which doesn't sound like much, but it just makes the whole process that much more convoluted. Whereas with the Luna, it's literally just 1 second, pop it out, and I'm ready to go. And for me as a solo content creator, I've just found it so useful. The amount of times I've wanted to get like a wide shot standing back from the camera. And so I prop this up somewhere, kind of out of reach, step back from the camera and get a shot. Being able to see my exact frame and also move the camera into position using the controls has just been so useful, I cannot tell you. And again, to me, it just helps speed up the entire workflow. Like on the Pocket 4, if it was just a little bit off, I'd have to crop it in post, adjust things, move things around, all in the edit. Whereas using the screen to remotely set up my shot, I can get it right the first time and I'll have to tweak it in post. Plus, it's just a small thing, but the Insta360 Luna comes with this hard case, which naturally fits 2 filters. And for me, the filters I keep in it is the ultra wide lens and then an ND filter. And that's essentially all I need to film like 99% of my content. And that also keeps the gimbal protected. Whereas with the Pocket 4, if I want to bring ND filters, for example, I have to bring a separate case, and it's just extra things to keep track of. And so that's just another small way in which I found the Luna that much easier to use. Now, if you did see the last video, I did say that I was going to test the standard video mode on the Luna a bit more, but in all honesty, I haven't found myself wanting to use it because I've been so satisfied with the log footage that's come out of this camera. That's just how I personally prefer to shoot, is always in log, because I like to color grade my own content. But let me know in the comments if you would like to see more tests with the standard video mode in non-log. And also, one of the complaints I had in the last video was the fact that the log mode didn't have a display conversion LUT, so you couldn't see kind of like a pre-graded preview on the display. But Insta360, as I predicted, just released a firmware update, so you can now see a Rec 709 preview of the log footage right on camera while you're shooting. Now, having said all of that, there's definitely still some complaints that I've got with the Luna, but to be fair to the DJI, I still genuinely think this is an excellent camera. I am definitely not saying this is a terrible piece of hardware. And I think one of the things that the DJI definitely has in its favor is that it's got a really mature ecosystem, because the Osmo Pocket line has been out for ages now. A lot of other third-party brands have built accessories for them. Like, for example, these freewheel filters. These are compatible both with the Pocket 4 and with the 3. And there's just heaps of accessories like this out there for the Pocket 4 that the Luna just doesn't have yet. Having said that, Insta360 isn't starting from ground zero. They have already released some accessories, including, like I mentioned, ND filters, wide angle lenses, and even a black mist filter. And to be honest, I think for the majority of people, that's all the kind of accessories you'll need to shoot 99% of content. If you do tend to use kind of more niche filters or accessories, then maybe the Pocket 4 is still the best ecosystem for you. But I feel pretty confident that before long, a lot of brands are going to start making accessories for the Luna, and there's already enough for the majority of people, in my opinion. Now, in terms of the day-to-day friction with this device, there has been a few things. The battery has been totally fine. I've had no complaints with that, especially with the attached battery pack that you can get for the bottom of it. Now, the app I actually barely used, and I would say that that's a pro for this because the on-camera UI covers everything that I need. In terms of storage, that was one of my small complaints in the last video. I do wish you had a bit more internal memory. I have found myself running out of space a couple of times. In some ways, it's been a good thing because it's forced me to make sure I'm offloading my footage on a regular basis, but I think a little bit of extra breathing room would have been nice. Having said that, you can obviously just put an SD card in it, so it's not a huge deal, and I might just do that myself. And one more small thing is just these little wireframe legs on the bottom of the battery attachment. I still think they're a net positive because they're more compact than the DJI fold-out legs, but I still do find them a little bit difficult to pop out. And I also had one catch the other day on something as I was moving it around, and one of the feet actually popped out just like that. Now, they're really easy to just pop back in, but that's something that does concern me a little bit. If it happened and I lost one of the feet, then I'd probably have to buy an entirely new base, which would be annoying. So I feel like this could have been designed a little bit better. Apart from this, there's kind of 3 main issues that I've encountered that have been a bit more of an issue. So number 1, sometimes when I've turned on the camera like this, the lights will turn on the camera, but then no video feed will appear, and it kind of just seems like it's frozen. Now, thankfully, just power cycling the camera has fixed this, but I think if I was in a bit of a rush and really hoping to get a shot immediately, it could be quite frustrating. Next, I have experienced a handful of times when I've disconnected the remote touchscreen that the video feed hasn't come through. It's kind of frozen. And I actually found that attaching did restore the feed, but then as soon as I detached it again, it would freeze again. It was just a really annoying bug. And for me, that was something that definitely was an issue when I was trying to get particular shots. Now for me, I'm just kind of chalking these up to early firmware issues, which I think Insta360 will most likely address with updates. And it kind of makes sense considering this is a first gen product. And the last kind of small annoyance for me is just the fact that when you do first turn it on, after several hours of not using it, it does take like 5 to 10 seconds to boot up. Whereas the Pocket 4, doesn't matter how long it's been, it'll always start up pretty much instantly. And once you've kind of warmed it up, anytime you turn it on, off and on, within a couple of hours, it's back to instant. But I think the key thing for me is that even despite these bugs and issues, I still found myself wanting to default to this over the Pocket 4. And that for me ultimately is the bottom line. When it comes to gear, what matters to me is not so much the detailed specs and all of the stops of dynamic range and all that kind of stuff. It's more about, will I actually use it? Will it actually benefit my workflow? And can I make better or more content with it? And this device definitely ticks all of those boxes. So while my first video kind of answered the image quality question between the two cameras, I'm hoping this video has helped you understand why I think the Luna also wins out just in terms of workflow and usability. And look, like I said earlier, I'm still a huge fan of the Pocket 4. I think they're both amazing cameras. It's just that the Luna has the edge for me. Now, having said all that, I know a whole bunch of you mentioned that I should really compare the Ultra to the Pocket 4 Pro. And that's just been released in Australia. So I am planning to do a head-to-head comparison. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see that and don't want to miss out on it. If you want to speed up your workflow, then definitely make sure you check out Riverside using the link down below. And in the meantime, if you didn't see video 1 in this Pocket 4 versus Ultra series, then you can watch that right here.